This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd Dawalt. It's my job to help you grow your leadership skills, grow your business, and grow your income. Today I've got an interview with Dominic Rubino, who is a business coach, also helps construction business owners in a specific niche of the industry, and he's going to share quite a bit of information with you. We cover a lot of ground, including the delicate dance of running a family business. We also talk about how to set up systems to provide accountability in your company, whether it's a family-owned business or not. We talk about what profit leaks are and how you can find them, some of the biggest mistakes that construction business owners are making. And Dominic's also going to give you some really practical advice for a couple of things. One, how to create more time in your business. There's one specific tip and some templates and downloads he's going to make available to you that'll help you create more time to run your business. And then we also talk about succession planning. At some point, you're going to want to retire, maybe sell the business or transition the business off to a family member. And he's got some good advice for succession planning. So we cover a lot of ground. Great interview, great conversation. But a couple of resources I want to make available to you and make sure you know about before we get into the interview. If you're a construction business owner, there's two things I want to let you know about. One is the Construction Business Accelerator program. If you like the podcast and you want to take your construction business to the next level, if you want to maximize revenue, put financial anxiety and stress behind you, and then get some practical strategies and tools you can use to turn your business into a well-oiled machine, then you might want to check out the Construction Business Accelerator over at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. Here's what a couple of Construction Business Accelerator members would tell you. First, our Jay and Trey from Texas, they said this: "We don't know what we don't know. Todd, you've been really good about answering questions and giving us direction. You've held us accountable on areas where we've set goals. Your knowledge and expertise have helped us to shift our paradigm away from being just a small operation. You've also given us information on programs we didn't know existed, like Zoho and T-Sheets. They've been a huge help. Your expertise helps us solve a lot of problems in a very easy way versus us having to go reinvent the wheel." Roy from Ohio says this: "Todd does a great job helping companies like ours to grow. We've implemented a lot of what we've learned in the Construction Business Accelerator that's been helping manage and grow our company." So for a limited time, when you join the Construction Business Accelerator, you're going to get about $9,000 worth of bonuses, including the Revenue Maximizer, where you're going to learn a process and get a template you can use to grow your business and drive revenue 27% or more next month. It's going to give you a blueprint you can use to drive your revenue. You're also going to get the Sales Accelerator, an entire series on selling, from lead generation to the sales process to closing and negotiation tactics. You're also going to get the project execution formula, the mindset upgrade, and a whole lot more. These bonuses are not going to be around very long, and there are only so many spots in the Construction Business Accelerator available. So to find out how the CBA can help you maximize revenue, put financial anxiety and stress behind you, and turn your business into a well-oiled machine, head on over to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com before those bonuses are gone. Secondly, if you own a business, well, first of all, I have to apologize. Apparently, I have not done a good job of explaining something that I offer to construction business owners. I got an email recently that said, "Todd, do you provide one-on-one coaching? We're looking for some specific help for our business." And the answer is yes, I do. So I apologize if I've not made that clear, but I do have a one-on-one coaching program to help construction business owners solve their problems, establish the vision of their company, and get where they want to be. So if you own a business and you want to increase your revenue, or you want to eradicate the chaos in your business, or if you want to turn it into a well-oiled and profitable machine, or if you just need help clarifying the vision and the direction of your company, then my one-on-one coaching program is one of the best ways, maybe the best way, that I can help you do that. So to get started, if you want to learn more about that, I want to invite you to take advantage of a special offer for a free business breakthrough coaching session where we're going to work together to do a couple of things. One, create a crystal clear vision for your ultimate business success and the lifestyle that you want your business to provide for you and your family. Secondly, we're going to uncover the hidden challenges that may be sabotaging the growth of your business and keeping you working too many hours without getting the results that you want. And then when we're done, you're going to leave the session renewed, re-energized, and inspired to get after it and go turn your business into a highly profitable, revenue-generating, well-oiled machine. So if you want to take advantage of this limited time offer for a totally free business breakthrough coaching session, then all you got to do is go to constructionleadingedge.com/call. If all the spots are taken, just let me know and I'll get your name on the waiting list. So without further ado, let's get to that interview with Mr. Dominic Rubino. All right, Dominic Rubino, thanks for being on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm great, Todd. Great. Thanks to be here.
We got a lot of good ground to cover for the audience, but let's start with let's start with this question. Let's talk about the delicate dance of a family business. There's a lot in there, but tell me about that, because this is something that I run into. I've had personal experience with, and a lot of the folks I talk to have experience with as well.
Yeah, as have I. I've had my own family businesses, and as I like to say, there was hair on that dog. And then I deal with a lot of business owners who are in family businesses. And even a partnership, like a close partnership between two people, becomes very family-ish at times. And it's a delicate dance. There's some things that I know when I was running a family-based business, there's some things I chose to ignore, and there's some things I couldn't ignore. And I'll bet you my cousin felt the same way.
What do you mean by that? Some of the things that you could ignore or couldn't ignore?
Well, and this is just speaking to our own business at the time, is difference in management style, difference in, who we would hire, difference in how we'd approach a situation. That became a big challenge. And then, as you know, I'm a coach and I work with trades-based companies, cabinet makers, architectural millworkers, et cetera. And lots of them are family-based businesses. And in some cases, multiple generations. You've got two brothers that started a business who've now passed it down to their sons who are cousins. And then there's multiple other family people, family relations working in the company. Often a decision that seems easy to make and seems like a straight line is not easy, because there are family considerations to take into account about hurting people's feelings. What's my mom going to say? What's my aunt going to say? What's our grandmother going to say? Suddenly becomes a big part of the decision making around what should be your boardroom table, not your dinner table.
So what are some keys that you've figured out to running a successful family business, either things to do or things to avoid to be successful in a family business?
Well, I'll tell you, avoiding communication is the path to failure. And when I talk about communication in all aspects, but really communication in a way that is kind of structured so that it's expected and everybody knows what to expect when you're going into a meeting where you're going to communicate about what's important. So there's some things that that we do when we're talking to a business about changing the way they operate while they're still operating, and it comes down to communications and accountability. So, Todd, I'm not talking about having more meetings. I'm actually talking about having the right amount of meetings that are shorter and more topic focused, so that the communication between everybody is as clear as it can be.
Do you have a set frequency and an agenda for these meetings, or what does this look like in real life, tactically speaking?
Yeah. So that's a really good question, because I get a lot of feedback on that, lots of conversations. I'm saying that in air quotes, because when somebody first hears me talk about that, they think, "Oh, Rubino, we already have enough meetings. They go too long, nothing gets done, and it just seems like a waste of time. We've got stuff to build. I don't want to be in meetings all day." And you probably hear the same thing. So the way to approach meetings is different than most other companies do it. And this is how the big, fast-growing, profitable companies do it. They'll have a series of repeated meetings week to week that are very topic specific. So for instance, I'll use the cabinet making or manufacturing facility example, but you can use this for a crew that goes out on the road as well. But you have a weekly, I'll say a weekly meeting, but you should have it 2 or 3 times a week where you've got a toolbox talk, where you bring everybody together and you just talk about current projects in progress. A meeting like that with a crew of maybe 30, you can finish in 15 minutes. The way that we show people to do it. It's called a huddle format. Huddle as in football huddle. So that's on the manufacturing floor or on your crew floor, or if you're showing up to work on a big tower or a construction project, just get everybody started off and on the same page. And the purpose behind that meeting, and it's a very structured meeting, but the purpose behind that meeting is so that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. And how many times have we run into situations where, some people on our crew will tell us, I didn't know you were doing that, so I went and did it. Or I thought you were doing X, so I didn't go do X, and now we've got a gap in our delivery, and we've got an upset general contractor or homeowner, etc.
Yeah, I heard a great quote that's stuck with me for the last several years, and it's that the best way to starve a horse is to have two people feed it. And that's very true. It's typically the horse doesn't overeat. It's a starving horse because each person thought the other person was doing it.
The other guy was doing it.
Yeah. I like the term shared consciousness, where in some organizations it's almost like everybody needs to know what everybody else is doing somehow, just so that there aren't those gaps and overlap, which is difficult. Let's talk about communication in a family business. Tell us a little bit about your experience in a family business. What was the context? What sort of business was it? A little bit about that.
So if for myself and my family business, it actually wasn't a trades business. I come to business coaching from a pure entrepreneurship side. I've run a couple of businesses. I've had some great successes in business. I've had some great failures. Great failures are never fun and never good to talk about, but usually people like to hear about them more. But the business I ran with my cousin started selling used stuff on eBay. And it was just kind of a side project while I was working a corporate job and he was doing something else in finance, and we just came together and started selling books online, and then we ended up, believe it or not, selling medications from Canada to the United States by mail order. And so we were called CanadaPharmacy.com, and it was a family business, and we had it all. We had all the characters that you needed to make a great TV show. We had the paycheck drinker, who was my cousin. We had another family member there who would come in and hit on the girls in the call center. And they would come to my office crying and upset because he said things like, well, don't say no to me just because I'm related to the owners. And I would just shake my head and think, any day now, somebody saying something dumb on the floor is going to put us out of business. Yeah. And then we had fun things like boardroom meetings between ourselves where we said, okay, listen, this is we're about to take some dividends. The business was doing extremely well, as you would imagine a mail order pharmacy might. And so we'd have discussions around the boardroom table saying, look, we can't really talk about the amount of money we're about to take out of the business. All agreed. And then I would go home and my mom would phone me and say, I heard you guys took a big check. And I wasn't even home from a 45-minute drive. And then my mom would say, why didn't you tell me, and why did I have to find out from your aunt? So very difficult conversations in triplicate all around the table. So there's some of my own family challenges.
Yeah, let's talk about accountability. I've managed a family-owned business where I've seen this firsthand. I've talked to several people who are in a multi-generational business or a family-owned business where it's brothers, uncles, cousins working together. And a common theme I hear is accountability. I don't know how to hold the other person accountable. We need to hold each other accountable. That seems to be a common struggle, and the family dynamic makes it even tougher. So what do you have a couple of tips or something that works for providing that accountability?
I do because I've seen it work, but I'll also preface this by saying everybody has to agree to come to the table on this strategy because it works, but everybody has to agree to work it, if that makes sense, because being held accountable means I'm going to be held accountable and you're going to be held accountable. Todd, if you and I were brothers, we'd both have to agree to that. If I didn't agree to that and I still went to the meeting, nothing's really going to change. And so what becomes important is how guys like you and I introduce that topic to our clients, right? Because we can introduce it with a poison pill and it'll never work, or we can introduce it properly and increase its chances of working. And the tool that I'm talking about right now is actually strategic planning. And for your listeners that aren't familiar with the words strategic planning, it's having a business plan for your business, almost complete with systems and processes, ways of doing things, but it's alive. It's not a business plan that sits on the shelf. It's a living, breathing thing that you do as a big kickoff meeting, and then you revisit it quarterly to talk about where you are and where the plan is in its process.
Completely agree, but it's a little unclear. I'm a little unclear on the connection between the strategic planning and accountability. How does that? How does one provide the other? How does the planning provide the accountability?
Right. So the way that strategic planning works, the way that I do it is we start, and I follow one of the strategic planning systems out there that is very well proven and works in many, many different industries. I modify it to be used in the trades industry. And what we do is we get the relevant decision makers together in a room, close the door, nobody else is in there. It's just the ownership, the leadership of the team. And we start with the soft questions that actually lead to the hard answers. What's our vision? What are our values as a company? Where are we going? What are our goals? You know, if you've got two business owners where one person's goals is to make a lot of money and the other person's goals is to work less, those could be conflicting unless we attend to it right in that meeting, right? Because both can happen. It just means the company's going to have to give and take a little bit on each side, right?
Sure.
Right. So once we get that figured out at the very highest level with the values and the vision and the goals, which, by the way, I know people right now are shaking their heads and almost ready to turn off this episode thinking, hey, Rubino's talking about unicorns and rainbows. But it is the stuff that holds, it's the glue that holds things together when nobody else is looking. And once we have that established, once we figured out what the soft stuff is who are we as a company, our values, et cetera, then that becomes what are we going to do? And that what are we going to do is what are we going to do in 5 years? What do our sales look like? What does our company look like? What's our growth plan? What is our increase in scope? Like we're going to go to another territory, et cetera. Once we do that, then we can start breaking it down into accountabilities. So the guy that's running the framing crew is going to do one thing. The guy that's running the forms crew is doing another thing. In my case, the guy that's running the finishing is doing one thing. The guy that's running the manufacturing floor is doing another. And the guy that's running upstairs is doing another thing. But we're all in agreement. And that agreement has accountability in it.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. And I completely agree. The way I describe it is that imagine if you saw somebody with a really nice truck at a gas station and you struck up a conversation and said, hey, where are you headed? And he said, well, I'm going to drive about 400 miles to a gas station in 400 miles from here. And then you ask, well, then what? Well, I'll probably just drive another 400 miles to another gas station, and then I'll drive 400 miles to the next gas station. I'll probably be back here in a couple of weeks. Like, well, that's stupid. Well, why are you doing that? Like, well, that's, it's like their truck exists just to fuel the truck.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of businesses are. They're just existing to feed the business, but they're not really getting anywhere. There's not a purpose. There's not a vision. And what I found is that most people have a purpose. They have a vision, but they haven't really connected it to their business yet. Or maybe they don't believe that the business can support that vision. But I couldn't agree more that it's crucial to dig deep and find out what's your vision, what's your purpose, and then let's figure out what we've got to do to get there. And then that takes the, as I like to say, it takes the slack out of the line, takes the slack out of the reins, and everybody's pulling in the same direction. And it becomes pretty apparent when somebody's not pulling their weight. And in some cases, it sort of becomes a self-policing accountability system where the culture polices the issues and people don't have to deal with those things directly. Good stuff. Let me shift gears. So you work with cabinet makers and you help them double their time off, double their profit, right? Why?
Right.
Why did you decide to work with cabinet makers? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, that is quite the story because I'm not a cabinet maker, and anybody who ever shook hands with me would realize that I'm not on the tools because I have soft accountant type hands, which is how my dad describes me, by the way. in his thick Italian accent, my nickname in Italian is Soft Hands, but that's another thing. As I said, I come to being a business coach, and I've been a business coach now for 18 years. I've been an entrepreneur for about 25. And through the time that I've been both of those things, business coaching has driven my success. So I started coaching, like I said, 18 years ago, and I started working with companies in my local market after I learned some processes and systems for being a coach. And I realized that I was teaching other people to do really well and turn their business around. Why wouldn't I do it to myself for my own business? And that's where the mail order pharmacy came out of. As I'd said, it was a bookstore, and then it turned into a mail order pharmacy. Well, when I sold that, I was looking around for something else to do, and I became what's called a franchisor of a business coaching company. So I went out and I trained. We have 237 franchisees around the world who do what I do as a business coach in their local markets. But I got an offer to sell the company. My partner and I got an offer to sell the company, and we both turned it down. And I went home that night for dinner, and I said to my wife, "Hey, honey, some of the franchisees offered to buy the company today, right out of the blue. We didn't know it was coming." And so, of course, she said, "What did you say?" And I said, "No, we turned it down. We're not ready to sell." So that was interesting. It was a nice little thumbs up that we were doing the right thing as a franchisor. But then I said, "Okay, honey, next week I've got to travel again. I'm going back down to San Diego. So I'll be gone Monday to Thursday." And as I was talking to her, my son sits right beside her at the kitchen table, and he didn't melt. He just shrunk. And I thought, what am I doing? This isn't the dad I wanted ever to be. The guy that was traveling almost all week, 2-3 weeks a month to make this successful business. So I really took that to heart. And so I went back the next day and told my partner that although we had agreed not to sell the business, I was open to selling my part of the business. And so I'm in the process of doing that transaction right now. But back to your question, why am I dealing with tradespeople, cabinet makers, and architectural mill workers? Well, I'm a speaker as well as a business coach, and I spoke for a group called AWMAC, Architectural Woodworking Manufacturers Association. It's like AWI or the NKBA, and that led to a podcast, and the podcast led to me thinking, hey, hold on a second. Why am I traveling? Why don't I just serve one specific market and do a really good job of that? And I've always coached tradespeople my whole career, and I like them. I grew up at a trades dinner table. My dad is a welder and journeyman fabricator, and it's just normal conversation to me. So I love it, and I've always done it.
Well, on behalf of the construction industry, thank you for stepping in. I know some people would be reluctant to step into the construction industry because, frankly, we're behind. We're years or maybe even decades behind other industries. And
right.
I've spent a lot of my career in large corporations. I've worked inside of Procter & Gamble, Duke Energy, Jones Lang LaSalle, some Fortune 50 companies, and seen how they operate. And I like to call it stealing fire. It's like stealing fire from one tribe and bringing it back to your camp if we were in caveman times. So I appreciate you bringing your insight and the systems and processes and what you've learned over to construction. And some people may think, well, construction is different. It's special. Yeah, there are some nuances. Agreed. But at least 80% of businesses share a lot of commonalities. Your marketing, you're selling, you're executing, you're providing a service. Within the construction industry, whatever you're building, I call it sticks and bricks. You're putting sticks and bricks together. There's really not a lot. It's just another blank project, as one of my bosses called it. It's just another bleep project.
Yeah.
There's a lot of commonalities there. So you have the opportunity. You've had the opportunity to work with a lot of business owners from other industries. Now you've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of business owners in construction. What are some of the common challenges that you're seeing? Are you seeing common threads through your conversations with contractors of challenges that they're facing that you can talk to us about?
Yes. I mean, there are things that pop up all the time. We've talked a lot already about the family business dynamic. Not every business is a family business, and some are solo businesses where the person starting it is the one running it and is the chief cook and bottle washer. But if I take it up to the highest level, the conversations that I get pulled into always revolve around a couple of different topics. There's time. Time is a big one, right? So time for the business owner or time on the floor. I'm not a lean manufacturing expert, but I love lean. I'm a bit of a lean geek, and I look at it from the side. So I like to figure out ways to do things through systems, faster, smarter, better, cheaper, more. So we've got time is something I talk about a lot with business owners. People, the people on the team. Right now in the West, there's a crazy building boom going on, and it is insanely hard to find people, and it's that much harder to find good people, and then managing them to make sure that you're getting, fair work for a fair day is another thing as well. So I deal a lot with that. So we've got time, we've got team or people, money. So everybody wants to make more. Never, Todd, never have I had somebody say, I want to lose money faster. Can you show me how? So nobody's ever said that. And then time, team, money, exit strategy or growth strategy. And for me, that comes out where I see succession planning, which is I want to sell it to my son, daughter, cousin, nephew, etc. That takes a lot more planning than just one day showing up saying I'm ready to pass it on to Bobby. And so that becomes a very big conversation that I have a lot.
2 follow-up questions. I want to talk about succession planning a little bit, but first, can you give 1 or 2 tactical, practical tips for creating time? Because this is a real challenge for a lot of contractors. Their days are full. What's something that you can offer that you found to be successful in creating time?
Okay, well, number 1, we actually touched on it a little bit. I'm writing as we're speaking. One of them is better, faster, shorter meetings that actually accomplish something, right? Meetings that are just there to meet and go on and on for no particular reason are a waste of everybody's time. To the extent that I actually created something called the Finance and Forecast Meeting Agenda and Script. And I give that out on, people download it from my website so they know how to run an effective finance and forecast meeting with the agenda and the script so you know what to say. So better, faster, shorter meetings is one time helper. And the other one is something called block scheduling. Block scheduling is where you look at your week at a glance calendar and you actually set it in stone and you block out the things that have to be done, and the things that don't have to be done don't fall into those spots. And you find that what we find is it's easier for a business owner to then manage their time when they're proactive about it versus reactive. Because if you just show up Monday morning and just starting, that doesn't end till Friday, Saturday afternoon. But if you plan the week in advance, you are in control more so, and more so the more you do it. So those are 2 quick tips for creating time.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Exit strategy. I've talked to quite a few folks who are interested in either selling their business or they are a longtime employee and interested in buying a business and taking it over. What would you start with? What are a couple of things that people need to be aware of or be thinking about, regardless of which side of the equation that they're on? What are some things that may not be so apparent that they need to be thinking about first?
I think it comes down to 2 major things, and inside of those 2 major things, there's a whole bunch of minor parts, right? Just like for a project manager, the big job is finish this building, and then all of the subparts are other big things inside of that. So we touched on it a little bit before, but having a system for communications and accountability in the company is really important. And so if I'm the patriarch, that in this case, the dad of the family, and I've got the family business, I want to start putting repeatability and confidence in place that things happen on a prescribed schedule. Things happen as they happen, and we move the company forward based on those patterns. So we do that through, as I've said, communication and accountability. And the tool for that is something called the huddle. And, anybody can talk to Todd or myself about how the huddle works. And then the other one is systems. Having systems in place for doing things so that we always do things the same way every time. Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
So I had a client who was actually an electrical services contractor, and he had money problems. But he also wanted to pass the company on to his son, as he had taken it over from his dad. But there were some serious profit leaks in the business. And so when we started looking at the profit leaks, we realized that they came from the business owner being a really good guy. He was super social and outgoing. And because it was a second generation business and his name was on the title, he felt that he had to be good to the guys that were good to his dad in the years gone by. He's also a bit of a micromanager. So this is what he said to his team. No invoices go out without me checking them. So they agreed to that. That seems fine. But he was so busy in the field, he would only come back and sit at his desk every 2 or 3 weeks. So now invoices pile up for 2 or 3 weeks. When he finally sits at his desk, because he knows everybody, he's like, Acme Contracting, that guy started with my dad. Let's take off 10%. Right? And so he did that on and on throughout all of the agreements. And so he would self-discount money to other people because he was a good guy and he liked them and he'd done business with them for years. So it was late billing and discounted billing that was really killing that company. So when I talk about systems, that business and time, that business owner was struggling for time, but all he had to do was step back, put the systems in place, and let his people do their work. And he didn't have to be involved.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That him not having to be involved, that's a challenge that I've found because of a mindset that a lot of construction business owners have, that I'm the best fill in the blank. Maybe I'm the best at everything, or I'm the only decision maker. I have to review all the invoices. I can't trust anybody else to do it. I'm the best decision maker. I'm the best planner. I'm the best whatever. And that's a real bottleneck. And that's a great example of how a business owner can be the lid on the organization. And it's also a good example of how problems can also be symptoms. And it's important to really get to the root cause, because in that case, they probably could have tried to address their cash flow problems or cash flow symptoms in that case, and their financial symptoms, but they needed to get to the root cause, which was a couple of things. Solve a couple of root causes, and a lot of these other symptoms that you're dealing with go away. Good stuff. Well, I appreciate that. Let's talk about some other. I think that's one. My next question was related to some of the biggest mistakes construction business owners are making. I think you touched on one there. What are some other common mistakes that business owners are making and they don't even know it?
You know, it depends on the size of the business and what they're doing. But I was just working with a company the other day, and one of their, how do you call it, subcontractors that they deal with, they were helping them do an install of a new time and work system. And, you know, these are two buddies, right? I'm coaching one, and then his friend, I'm hearing the story back through the friend. Well, the company had just put a time system in place and realized he had in one shift saved $150 because 3 of his guys had logged in late. So that was one shift on one day of the week. And the point is that we don't know where we're making mistakes until we start to go look for the places where we can make small, tiny little gains here and there. Because you're not gonna suddenly stroke the pen and make an extra $100,000 a year. What you're gonna do is find $2,000 here, $3,000 there, $500 over here. You're gonna find a $17 recurring monthly charge that you take care of or do better, smarter, faster somewhere else, and that adds up to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. Again, depending on the size of your business. So looking for those, what we're trying to do is hit singles, not home runs every day. But we hit a single every coaching meeting. That's my goal.
Absolutely. And you mentioned profit leaks. Would that be considered a profit leak?
Yeah. And there's a number of different profit leaks. And so looking for those profit leaks it's actually kind of fun. And finding those profit leaks is really rewarding for a business owner who's, you know, running at full tilt. Obviously, they're doing well. People are wanting them to do the work for them because they're the best or one of the best in the city. And it's rewarding when they go through and they find out, hey, we could be saving or making a little bit more here, saving or making a little bit more here, et cetera. And so, you know, I follow a process, a system, go figure, a system for finding those different profit leaks. Actually, there's an article on my website that talks about finding 8 profit leaks in your business. And those are just the real high level, fast ones that anybody can find anywhere.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. I agree. I think some people think that in order to make a big difference in your business, you have to do something creative or unprecedented. But if you can just do the basic blocking and tackling and execute well on just the very basic things, especially finding these profit leaks, because there's an old saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, but that's not really true in business, right? It's, if you're a general contractor, a penny saved is 20 pennies earned if you're working at a 5% fee. So if you're going to focus your energy somewhere to get maximum value, go plug the holes in your bucket before you start putting more water in the bucket. Otherwise, you're just going to process a lot more water and not be any better off.
You know what's, sorry, I just want to, because I think the listeners need to hear this. One of the ones that keeps coming up as a theme is, are we selling to and serving our ideal client? And each of us has a certain portion of the market that we're really, really good at going after. I'll speak to cabinet makers because I do that every day, but it would work for electrical contractors or site services, you know, the guys that are digging pipes and trenches to develop a piece of property. It's the same for all of us. There is a perfect type of deal that we're perfect at delivering to, and we can do it better than anybody else, and we can control our costs and maximize our profit. For me, with cabinet makers, quite often they get pulled into, I deal with this general contractor all the time, and now they suddenly have this beautiful house at one of the holiday locations close by, so I'm just going to do that house. Well, that house is not their sweet spot. They're not set up. Their team isn't set up. Their machinery is not set up to do a house. And so they end up doing this house, but they take a bath on it. And the reverse is true as well. They do they're always doing houses for a GC, and he suddenly needs TIs done on a commercial space, and they just find they're over their head. Not for any fault of their own. They're still great at cabinet making and architectural millwork. They're just not set up to be perfect for that type of deal.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because not all projects are created equal. Not every dollar of revenue is created equal. And that's a tough decision to make, though, because it's revenue, especially when it's negotiated revenue, or you don't have to bid on it, you don't have to compete on it. But sometimes the best projects are the ones you pass on, because you're not set up for it. It's not in your sweet spot. You end up getting into something that you weren't prepared for, and it not only does it, maybe you make some money on it, maybe you break even, but you have assets and resources and people tied up on that stuff, and you're getting hit with an opportunity cost when you could be doing something else. So yeah,
that's right.
Thanks for bringing that up.
It's a tough decision.
It is being willing to stick to your vision, which this goes back to having a vision. This is who we are. This is what we do, and we're going to put blinders on to everything else. And what I found is that there are plenty of opportunities will come into your field of vision, but being the successful contractors are the ones who can say, that's not in our wheelhouse. Yeah, we could probably do it, but it's not in our wheelhouse. That's not what we're best in the world at. So we're going to pass on that and focus our energy on other things. So let's talk about the business owner mindset. All right, you and I talked a couple of weeks ago when we had our first conversation about the mindset, the inner game. What have you found in your conversations, in your career, in your experience? What are some of the most, we'll start with the belief patterns that are most detrimental to business owners? What are some of the things, the mindsets, the belief patterns that are holding people back or causing them to sabotage themselves?
Yeah, that is a good question, because it happens a lot, and I think it's unspoken except for when the doors are closed and I'm in that private coaching meeting. It comes down to actually the work ethic that made everybody successful in the first place has to shift a little bit in order to get to that. You know, we always talk about the next level. I want to get to the next level. Well, what does that mean? Well, getting to the next level means thinking differently and acting differently, because what the answer to your question is that business owners who are stuck in place are stuck on working harder, and they haven't moved to working smarter. Right? So in trades especially, we are, and by the way, I have had trades businesses myself. I ran a couple of painting companies, and one of them had a really great name. It was called Ladderman Home Services. And I was Ladderman. But Ladderman. But I was stuck on working hard. I knocked on more doors. I worked harder than everybody else. I worked all the time, and it was just work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard, get ahead. And I never made that transition to working smart, to putting systems in place. And that was definitely my downfall, because I ended up getting burned out on that. And even though I was good at painting houses and doing home handyman services way back in the day, and it made great money, it just made great money for me. There was no scale, there was no leverage. So that's definitely the first part of business owner mindset, is the need, thinking that working harder is the answer versus working smarter.
Yep, good stuff. And that is a tough transition to make, because what I've found is that people who have the mindset that success is a direct result of time and effort, when let's say they do get the systems and processes in place and they have a company that's running like a well-oiled machine, then what do? They've created this thing and they're bored, or they have what I call the no problem, and they start creating. They're so used to being in firefighter mode and in crisis management mode that they create crises, because that's what makes them comfortable. They're comfortable being in that mode, and that is really tough on the rest of the organization, I can tell you. So yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, quick story on that. I went and met with a guy, and so this is a local client, not one of my, the people that I deal with throughout the country, but he gave me the standard. I said, what do you want to change in your business? He says, Dom, I want to make more money. And boy, if I had a nickel, literally a nickel, for every time somebody told me they wanted to make more money, I'd have a lot of money. I'd burn the money I had and use that money. So especially when they say, Dom, I want to make $1 million. And I go, okay, that's 6 zeros, right? So he says, Dom, I want to make more money. And so I come back with the coaching question, why do you want to make more money? Which, by the way, sounds like the stupidest question in the world. And I expect most of the time to get punched in the face when I ask it. But why do you want to make more money? He goes, well, I want to, take home more money. But I did my job as a coach, and I kept asking why, and why is that important, and where will you use that money? And what I found out was something that absolutely just ripped my guts out. His mom had gotten sick and was put in a home. She had Alzheimer's dementia. And the problem he was facing was that he was working hard and he couldn't help and take care of her. But she was in a shared room with 3 other ladies. And one of the ladies specifically was loud and noisy at night, and his mom couldn't sleep. And so the why do you want to make more money came down to, I just feel like my mom deserves better and I should provide it for her. All he wanted was to get her own room. It's very expensive. But that's the why. I get that we can all work harder, but at some point that doesn't work for you anymore. You got to work smarter because there's other people, as always, relying on us. And so we have to up our game, which means moving out of that, like you said, the firefighting mode into fire prevention, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've had a similar experience with a few folks that I've talked to, a few coaching clients, is when you can get to that really deep why, then it brings a great deal of clarity and focus and allows them to prioritize on what's really important. And in most cases, people aren't really clear on their why. They need someone to help them dig it out, and someone who can see the forest for the trees and be an objective third party. Which we both coach construction business owners, and I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do to help people is to help them understand what's their why. Why are they doing that? Well, what's behind this, and then where do you want to go? So I'll ask you this question. What are some misconceptions about business coaches that contractors have, or how should construction business owners think about having a business coach? You can pick either way you want to attack that.
And Todd, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are, but one of the misconceptions that I've had for years and years is that people think a business coach tells you what to do. And I don't do that as a business coach. I believe my clients already have the answers. The challenge they have is they haven't asked themselves the right question in the right order. And so my job is I'm the guy with the perspective. I'm not there every day. And that's the value, is I get to come in with a fresh set of eyes and ask some questions. We call them great questions, but they're really not all that difficult. It's just that asking them in the right order allows the business owner to think about what they want to do. And then I help them take action, and we set out the plan and hold them accountable to doing it. And we set time frames so they happen faster versus slower. And, there's people listening to this episode right now who are driving, between job sites, and they already know what they need to do, and they've known it for years. They've just never given themselves the time. They've never allowed themselves the time to just go do that thing. And even if they do it this week, but they don't do it the next and the next and the next. So I think that, answering question one of yours, that would be the biggest misconception, is that we tell people what to do and we don't.
Yeah, I agree. And I've found that the more statements I make, the less effective it is. And I've had
as a coach, you mean?
Yeah. The more questions I ask, why is that? What's really important here? If you don't get anything else done in the next week, what do you have to get done? What's the lead domino? What's the one thing that you need to get done that's going to cause other things either be irrelevant, easier to solve, or a non-issue? Yeah. And I agree. Most people, well, the way I describe it is like, if you want me to tell you how to run your business, it's like I'm driving past your office, looking through the window, and I'm going to try to tell you how to run your business. That's ridiculous. That would be really arrogant of me to think that I can tell you how to run your business by driving by and looking through the window. But I think the perspective is good. The questions, being an objective but interested third party is really the key, in my opinion. And one thing that actually surprised me after I was coaching for a while, I realized that one of the most valuable parts of coaching is simply the coaching framework and the process that you set up, where you ask questions. I don't tell people what they're going to do. I don't give people homework. I ask, what do you need to do before our next call? And then I'll provide the accountability, because I'll ask, hey, this is what you said you were going to do. How are we doing on that? And my clients have told me, hey, I don't want to get on the phone and say, well, I'm paying you to coach me, but I didn't do what I said I was going to do. It provides that accountability to keep them moving forward. And then, like you said, people may do something for a week or two, but then they go back to day-to-day operations and back to the default mode, and it just falls apart. And that's where
life gets away.
Exactly. It's especially if you have a few different people involved. People go back to what's comfortable, and having a coach is going to provide that focus and accountability to establish the vision and direction, and then keep the ball moving down the field. Yeah.
Can I add to this one just really quickly? I've got this one client, and they are so much fun, but it's like being on the set of The Sopranos. Just the way that the volume of the conversation escalates and the language used. It's fun, but if you looked at it from the outside, you would not. you might step back. But these guys really like it when I show them stuff, and both of them are super. They're not family. They're a partnership. They're super smart, very driven guys. Literally, they have built this business from nothing to where it is today. And right now, it is one of the most highly sought after architectural millwork companies in the city, bar none, hands down. These guys are excellent at what they do. What they really like in coaching is to be shown stuff about business, because they've gone through trades and trade school, but they didn't do business school. And they openly said, Dom, we brought you on because we need to learn about business. So on the meetings where I don't show them stuff, they actually say that to me. You didn't show us a picture today. You didn't show us a concept. So, and I listened to your anchoring podcast on my way in this morning in preparation for this. So I think you do the same thing. There's a time for me to ask questions, but within my area of expertise, I can also provide a little bit of training, a little bit of guidance, because we can't expect that our clients are going to be trained in negotiation, for instance. So that's something you or I can provide, at least enough to get them started.
And I found that there are nuggets of advice that I can share with someone. I had a conversation with one of my clients a couple of weeks ago, one of our first calls, and he was explaining to me an issue that he was having with clients and what they were asking him to do, and he wasn't making money on a particular part of the business. And I said, what if you try this? try billing it out or proposing it this way instead of the way you've been doing it. And on our next call, he said, I had a client that asked me this. I submitted the proposal as the way that I suggested, and the client didn't balk at it. They signed up, and it made him about $100,000 just by
Excellent.
just by looking at things a different way. Try this. This is how I would do it. This is how I've done it. I've been on the owner's rep side as well. So having that perspective is very key.
Yeah.
And then it's what you don't know. It's one thing to know what you don't know. I don't know about business. I don't know how to sell, but there are things I don't know that I don't know. And that takes a level of humility and self-awareness for someone to say that. And I think that's something that successful business owners have, is the ability to say, I don't know what I don't know. They're humble enough to say, I don't know everything, and I can always learn from somebody else. That I do the same thing. I read, I have coaches that I've hired because I know there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't know. And so I'm a big fan of coaching. That's why I reluctantly started coaching. It wasn't part of my long-term plan. But after I started doing it, I realized this is the best way that I can help somebody get where they want to be. It's really, I think every professional athlete has a coach, right?
I was just going to say, it's like having a personal trainer at the gym. Yeah. When you want to get the results, you get a personal trainer.
How many business owners do their own taxes? How many business owners try to operate without legal counsel? They just don't. And the beauty of a business coach is they're going to help you. Guys like you and I are going to help business owners in the future. It's not going to be rearview mirror. A CPA is going to tell you what happened in the past. An attorney is going to help you clean up a mess you've already created, and maybe some forward-looking things. But I think my goal with my coaching clients is I want to provide at least a 10x return on investment, and so far that's worked out pretty well. Maybe I need to charge more. I'm not sure, but I can't. In my own personal life, there have been very few things that have been a better investment than hiring a coach and having somebody provide that information, the accountability, and the focus, and provide momentum. So, we are running short on time. One last question I'll ask before I give you the opportunity to share how people can get in touch with you. You've got an audience of construction business owners and leaders, superintendents, project managers, estimators, all across the spectrum of construction leaders. What's something that you feel like they need to know, or a message that you're passionate about getting out to those folks?
I think the message that I want to get out to people is really to think about working smarter, not harder. It does not have, in order to grow, you've got to do things differently. Just like you wouldn't put your kids on the field without a soccer coach on the side. Start reading books. Listening to podcasts like this is excellent, because if you're educating yourself while you're driving, in 365 days a year, let's just say you're doing an hour commute a day, which is nothing. But that's 365 potential hours of training you have at your fingertips. And if you were to do that and none of your competitors did, you'd have 365 hours more education than they did. And if that still doesn't make sense, imagine that you did 10 push-ups a day for the rest of the year. How much fitter would you be after having done that than not? And that's what it looks like in the market right now, is that most people, and I say most, I think it's a very low percentage of business owners out there that go and seek education and inspiration and knowledge. And that means that the bar is set very low in business. And so in order to, quite frankly, crush them and to get what you want, it just takes a different mindset. And that mindset comes through learning new things. So listening to podcasts like this, getting yourself educated, talking to a coach. You don't have to hire them, just talk to them. Get as much knowledge as you can. That's the key.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. If people want to get in touch with you, Dominic, where should they go? Do you have some resources? I know you have a podcast, you have a blog, but take a few minutes if you have some resources you want to send people to and let people know how they can get in touch with you and find out more about what you've got for them.
Sure. Thank you. So the you're not going to believe the name of the podcast. It's called the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. That's it. So, and you can find that everywhere that you find your podcasts. It's also on YouTube, so you can see these as videos, which is interesting. And then something else that I've done is I've turned all of the episodes into transcripts. And what that allows you to do is if you do have a partner in your business and you want them to listen to a particular episode or watch an episode, but they say, I'd rather read it, the transcript is right there. So you've got, you can hear it, you can see it, or you can read it or pass it out amongst your team, or, you know, if it's just a Word document, so you can copy and paste pieces as you need. So, and that's at the website, Cabinet Maker Profit System. And then, you know, Todd, from some of the questions you were asking today, I actually have downloads. They're free downloads on the site. One of them is for the finance and forecast meeting. That one's actually very popular because it has the agenda for that meeting. It has who needs to be in that meeting. It sets up the expectations for the meeting. So the agenda is laid out, and then the script for the meeting is in there as well. So people are downloading that and then taking it into their meeting. So they set it out, and they, you know, you can finish that meeting on agenda. The challenge, of course, with meetings about money is that money itself is cold. Talking about money is hot. So doing that meeting properly is really important. And then what was the other one we talked about today that I thought might be profit leaks? How to find the profit leaks in your business. And this holds true whether you're in, you know, you're making finished wood products or not. Anybody could download. Just go to the website and there's free downloads there.
Good stuff. CabinetMakerProfitSystem.com, the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. If people want to reach out to you and contact you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, thank you. So they can just reach out to me just on email. That's a great way to do it. So my initials are DR. So it's going to look like doctor when you type it. And much to my mother's amazement, I'm not a doctor, but it's DR at CabinetMakerProfitSystem.com. And I'm easy to find there. And also, if you go to the other channels like the podcast, et cetera, there's connection links there that you can use. And love to hear from you if you have questions inside or outside the industry. I'll help however I can, especially if you're one of Todd's listeners. I'll do everything I can to help you out.
Well, Dominic, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast and share, and thanks for what you're doing for the industry. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you in the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate being here.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that, got something out of it. Be sure to contact Dominic if you have any more questions. Go check out his podcast. If you have any questions or need links or resources, head to constructionleadingedge.com/083. You'll be able to find the show notes there. The notes are also available on a lot of the podcast players that you're listening to, so the links and notes will be there as well. Don't forget, check out the Construction Business Accelerator program. Right now you can get over $9,000 of bonuses for a really ridiculously low price. Go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com to find out more about that. If you want some one-on-one coaching for your business and you want to take advantage of the free business breakthrough coaching session, you can schedule your one-on-one call with this guy, me, over at constructionleadingedge.com/call. Thanks for listening. I appreciate the ratings and reviews. If you could take a few minutes and leave a rating, leave a review on the podcast player of your choice, I would appreciate it. You know where to reach me. If you have any questions, head over to constructionleadingedge.com. Let me know how I can help you. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.